Black Clover's back after a very long 4 months. This series has finally returned and graced us with another great chapter with some really cool action scenes, and what's best about this one, it's Noelle focused. And I was looking forward to this so much, though I wasn't really thinking that we were going to get this fight ending so soon. I would have figured we'd get like the rest of the Black Bulls and then Noelle's fight. But I'm fine with this because overall the fight was really good, and we had some good resolution with Noelle's whole family drama with her siblings. I do have a honest to God big criticism that I'll talk about towards the end of this review when that comes up, but overall I like these 2 chapters and I had so much fun reading them. But before we jump into the actual review, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Since the Black Clover videos I've been doing pretty decently, I'll probably try and do a Black Clover video at least once every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, leading up to each individual chapter batch release. So let me know if you'd like to see that, and what potential videos you'd like me to talk about for Black Clover in the future in the comments. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Chapter 372 of Black Clover, titled Wretched, and we get a full 2-page spread, which is Noelle, Asta, Luck, Charmy, Gordon, and Kahuna underwater with a bunch of fish. This color spread just looks so beautiful, and I don't have much to say about this. This is just really nice. But the chapter starts off with some random Magic Knight going over to Noelle after his big injury, trying to use bubble recovery magic to heal his wounds. But he's starting to panic, as these wounds are very deep and he can't do anything himself. It's then, as an angel is about to come and take out Noelle and this random Magic Knight, Kaito and Kohana end up showing up to deliver some much needed assist and taking on an angel. And you know what this means? These 2 teaming up do more than Fuegoleon. The fraud allegations against this guy are at an all-time high. Ah, man. And it sucks because I like Fuegoleon. The guy needs at least to get a spirit dive at this point to actually stand up to everybody. But, man, that's, it's kind of sad for Fuegoleon since he had so much trouble with an angel. But now 2 characters who, before this point, probably weren't even captain level are now taking on angels. So it kind of shows, the pecking order at this point is kind of a big thing. But yeah, Kaito ends up taking out the angel with Kohana's help, and she ends up using her sonic recovery magic to help Noelle heal. The 2 of them state that they've been training too and that they're stronger now, and that to leave Noelle's siblings to them, and for Noelle to do her best as we cut to Noelle fighting against her paladin mother. Aesir ends up launching Silver Feather Shower as Noelle uses Sea Dragon God's Vortex to parry and block all his attacks as she closes the distance on her mother, and then hits Aesir directly with a Sea Dragon God's tail, smashing her into the buildings. But Aesir laughs it off, gets up and says, "Who'd have thought I'd get to take part in such a thrilling fight again?" As Aesir ends up unleashing another magical attribute, water magic, which shocks Noelle, as she states, "I'm hitting you with all the power I've got." I think pretty cool contrast for Noelle to fight her mother, who now also is using water magic, which shows that the devil that Lucius ended up purifying to combine the soul with the revived Aesir was essentially a water magic user. So that is also incredibly interesting. Unfortunately, I'm just gonna say this right now, we never get the name at this point of the devil that Lucius ended up purifying to give its power to the revived Aesir, which is a bit disappointing, but this is a hype moment as the reveal of a second magical attribute will keep Noelle on her toes. As Aesir launches a bunch of water threads and arrow blasts at Noelle, swiftly curves around and dodges all of them. But then water comes in from below and ends up being a giant spiral lance hitting Noelle backwards, as Aesir then launches a giant eagle made of her steel magic and launches it at Noelle, as Noelle counters with a sea dragon attack that looks just like the Leviathan spirit that she is currently spirit dived with. And then a 2-page spread, they clash, but Aesir breaks through and manages to hit Noelle square in the face with her spear. As Noelle states, unlike me, she's exquisitely accurate and her attacks are vicious. As we cut to Solid, Noelle's other brother, as he says she has even more strength. There's no way we can win. And it's in that moment where Noelle shouts out, "I'm not done yet," as she goes on to keep fighting Aesir. As we then cut to Nebra, Noelle's sister, as she cuts back to think of how powerless she's felt in this instance, and says, "I'm sure that wasn't the only reason." As we cut back very briefly, as she remembers at the start of this invasion from Lucius's forces and the reveal of Aesir coming in, as she states that she doesn't want to fight her mother, she ends up basically having a whole internal crisis right now. She states, "I don't have the courage to face an enemy I can't hope to defeat." So this is something else. It's not just because she doesn't want to fight her mother. She just doesn't want to fight an opponent that she seemingly has no hope of defeating. Completely and utterly outmatched. As she goes on to self-reflect, "I toy with weaker opponents and torment them mercilessly, and yet, when I face someone stronger than I am, others protect and shelter me, and I despair." It's pathetic. Not just from previously in this arc, but back during the Elf Invasion arc. As this happened as well, Nebra and Solid were overwhelmed by the reincarnated elves, and thus Nozel and then Noelle had to come in and save the day and protect them. As simultaneously, both siblings realize that they're so utterly wretched. As they go on to remember stuff that's going on with Noelle, as stating, "We were the ones who were weak. Noelle constantly faced her weakness. She tried to get stronger. The power to find hope in a painful situation. That is true." As Noelle, coming back to Noelle, she charges at her mother with a massive blast, trying to break through, but she's pushed back again by Aesir. As Aesir tries to close the distance and deal the finishing blow to Noelle, as she says, "That was extremely entertaining. Thank you, Noelle." She then gets saved by Solid and Nebra as they use their magic to get her out of the way from this honestly death blow that she would have gotten in this very instance, which shocks Noelle. Solid thinks back to previously in the arc where Aesir stated that it's okay if they're weak, she loves them all the same, and that Lucius will create a peaceful world where everyone is equal. Come be reborn in it and let's make a fresh start together. As Solid ends up stating, "I'm weak and I've made a fool of myself in front of everybody." As Suegolion's words from the beginning of Black Clover, "It isn't the weak who should be embarrassed, it's the ones who stay weak," end up ringing in a singular panel, which I believe it's these two remembering it, and most likely Noelle as well. Nebra and Solid state, "I don't want to make it so it never happened. I want to make a fresh start right here," which shocks Noelle, with Nozel finally coming back into the fight, stating, "And that is why the four of us will defeat you, Mother." Ending chapter 373 with the Silva siblings all on the same page and ready to fight their basically revived possessed mother all together as one. And now we move on to chapter 373 titled The Silva Siblings, as Kohana tells the Silvas that they got it from here. Nebra ends up casting Bewildering Forest of Mist to give them some cover so that they can get a few moments to come up with their next move. As Nozel calls out to Noelle, telling her that she's always had extraordinary latent magic, but she couldn't control it and it ran wild again and again. And at some point, she acquired the habit of unconsciously holding back as she casts spells. As he states, "Pour all your magic and the power of Leviathan into one attack, then unleash it. There's no other way we can win." And I like this bit because throughout Noelle's life, she's had no control over her immense magical power. She's continuously tried to train herself to get better and better at control. It wasn't until she met Asta and the Black Bulls where she was finally able to not only learn more in terms of defensive spells, but also offensive spells, to the point of getting this massive amount of power under control. With the amount of trouble that she's gotten with this power, it makes sense that at a young age, and even throughout the series, despite her getting stronger power-ups and even better control, she would have some sort of mental block that keeps her from going fully all out due to her own fear of losing control. So I do think that Nozelle's pointing out that despite how strong Noelle is, she is still to an extent holding back subconsciously. So in this instance, he is pushing her to just let it go and just let loose completely. And I do like it. Even though I do think Noelle did fully overcome this aspect of her character, I do like the idea that she's still somewhat subconsciously holding back. It's something with a lot of characters with latent magic, with latent abilities, latent strength. and to the point where they hold back subconsciously so they can either get a good fight like Kenpachi to keep things even, like from Bleach, or in some other series where it's just to not harm people. I find that aspect of characters with immense strength and talent and potential very interesting. And the fact that this has to do with Noelle, it makes sense. But as Noelle is stating for this plan, when can she actually get the opportunity, Aesir breaks free from the mist and says, "We're not finished yet." As the siblings get ready to face their mother, Noelle says, "I will entrust everything to the three of you." As he casts a brand new spell, and in a 2-page spread, he reveals a brand new ability. As he states, "I'll discard my usual ever-changing style and focus purely on defending." As he states, big brothers exist to protect their siblings. As an older brother, I fully agree, and this resonates with me personally. But in this awesome 2-page spread, we see Nozelle's brand new magical ability, Silver Guardian, as he encases his whole body in his Mercury magic to have an incredibly strong, dense, and still armor around him that will allow him to fight his mother and also withstand a bunch of attacks as he pushes his mother back. As he's stating, "I will buy you time. You know what you need to do," as he looks back at his siblings, with Noelle calling out to her brother, but Solid and Nebra stay by her side, stating that they will support Noelle's spell. And don't think about control or anything like that. Just charge up your magic, then just let it go. As Noelle says, "Alright," with another 2-page spread coming in, with Noelle charging in and trying to fight off their mother, tanking to an extent and trying to attack with multiple blows against Aesir. As Aesir tells Noelle that that's not bad, but that his Mercury magic is poisonous. Simply maintaining that spell hurts him most likely, which does make sense because Mercury is, to an extent, pretty poisonous to people, and with that amount of Mercury on him, he will probably get some sort of Mercury poisoning, which I do kind of hope that that does end up being some sort of repercussion at the end of the day, but it's Black Clover, you never know if this will be the case. I think it would be pretty cool if that ended up happening. But Aesir pushes Noelle out from the building that they're fighting in and says, "I'll put you out of your misery." As we cut back to Noelle as she's charging up for her magical attack with her siblings supporting her, as they realize how brutal this magic is. As Noelle states, "To defeat Mother, I'll need more power." As then Nebra and Noelle end up bursting with blood all across their body, as it's a reaction to Noelle's massive amounts of magical output. As she calls out to her siblings, they tell her, "Don't hold back. Who do you think you're worrying about? This is nothing. Especially not compared to what we did to you." As they think back to all the horrible things that they said and did to Noelle as she was growing up. And I like that it took her joining the Black Bulls and learning how to control her power and showing off to her siblings that she is strong and that she overcame this, in that they had to realize their own, to an extent, powerlessness in their own way, and all the treatment that they've done to her has just been negatively affecting her and themselves to an extent. And I like that they're finally fully realizing all this and coming to terms with the horrible things that they did to their little sister. As this happens, Noelle ends up bursting out with Aesir into a building, as Noelle states, "This pain is the punishment for my sin and the atonement that will allow me to rebuild my siblings' bonds." Which, yeah, Noelle is not free of guilt from anything, because the way he was doing things for Noelle, not great. He wanted to keep her at a distance, he was trying to keep her from becoming a magic knight to keep her away from danger, but to that extent, he did not reprimand his other siblings for tormenting her entire life. So, in that aspect, I would say he failed as an older brother, and I do like how he's kind of punishing himself for this, because he was just putting up a front the entirety of the time for his own weird, twisted way of protecting Noelle, which ended up hurting her at the end of the day. So I like how he is, to an extent, trying to atone for all that throughout this fight. I've really grown to like Noelle's character more and more as the series progressed, especially after he was confronting everything that was going on with Noelle throughout her life, and how he realizes everything that he's done was definitely the wrong move. And I like how Solid and Nebra are also coming to terms with their horrible behavior and treatment of their sister. I think Tabata is doing a pretty decent job at fleshing out and resolving this basically sibling drama that has been going on with the Silva family throughout the series, and I think this chapter is building up to a really nice resolution to it. We cut back to Noelle and her siblings as she keeps charging up, with the two of them still getting injured from her magical power. As she states, "I haven't finished charging up yet," and she asks, "If I go any further, you too will." But then Nebra ends up stating, "I loved Mother. She was strong, dashing, and more beautiful than anything. You were the very image of our mother, and I was jealous of you." As Noelle is getting an actual reason for Nebra attacking her and doing all this stuff to her, and Solid even says, "When you were little, I saw glimpses of the incredible magic in you, and I hated it. I had water magic too, and it was a relief when I found out you couldn't control that magic. I mistreated you, planted fear in you, just to make sure you wouldn't defy me." As the two of them in unison state, "I'm sorry," in a nice 2-page spread with Noelle getting an actual heartfelt apology from her siblings who have tormented her whole life, who have come to realize why they did this and why this was so bad. As her spirit dive transformation ends up disappearing, she says, "Okay," as in the very next page, we get a full-page, double-page spread of Noelle and her brand new Dragon's Roar attack, as now that she's out of her spirit dive, the power of Leviathan and all Noelle's magic has been concentrated into one singular blast and is about to go off. With this done, Noelle then grabs Aesir's spear and pushes her away. At the same time, Noelle unleashes her final attack on her mother, as she breaks through the protective eagle that she created and then gets hit with the full brunt of this Dragon's Roar attack. And man, this just looks so damn cool. And as Aesir is looking at her children, she says, "It's a shame, but I got to see my children all grown up and strong. As a mother, I'm satisfied." As Noelle's attack destroys and completely disintegrates Aesir completely. As she dies and is no longer in this world, her final thought is, "It took you the long way around, but you finally become a family, haven't you?" With the final panel of the chapter being Noelle surrounded by her siblings as the battle has concluded. Honestly, Black Clover has been great. I enjoy this chapter. I like the resolution with the sibling drama. I'm really glad we got a bit more of a deep dive into Nebra and Solid hating Noelle and treating her like she is, outside of her just magical power being out of control, and it's a form of jealousy because of either Noelle looking like their late mother, or because Solid saw the immense potential and power Noelle had, even though they had the exact same magic, and so he capitalized on her lack of control so that he could feel superior. Obviously, placing it into effect, the whole thing with royals and magic power being everything, ended up being an incredibly toxic and abusive family life for Noelle, and in all honesty, it's a miracle that she turned out the way that she did. And if she hadn't met Asta and the Black Bulls, who knows how things would have turned out for her. But yeah, I like how they came to the realization of why they treated Noelle like this, and how they're sorry, but they don't want to make it so it never happened. They just want to start fresh with their sister and make things right. And this was a bit of a slow burn from the series, primarily from the Magic Knights, the Royal Knights exam arc through the Elf arc up to now. And Noelle, ever since the Elf Reincarnation arc, has been doing his best to try and basically mend ties with Noelle due to his, like I said, dumb way of trying to protect her. But I think this ended off as well as it could. I enjoyed it. When they said "I'm sorry" to Noelle and Noelle's reaction to it, I did kind of tear up a bit. It was pretty emotional and I loved it. The final attack, even though it wasn't named surprisingly enough, I would have figured it would be like Majestic or Divine Dragon God Roar or something like that. But I found that pretty nice. Sometimes you just need a massive attack with no name just to showcase the strength or something like that. But my one major complaint from these two chapters is that we didn't really get much of Aesir's characterization. All we know about her is what people have referred to her as, like Mereoleona or Silver from the past, and not much to really build up Aesir's character that much. She just seemed kind of there to be an obstacle for Noelle and a tool for the Silva siblings to basically gather around and overcome. And while that's great, I would have really liked some more internal dialogue and conflict with Aesir to an extent, overcoming her children, fighting her children. maybe having her in some way, shape, or form fighting back subconsciously for Lucius's control, getting some perspective on Aesir's past for all we know. Just a bit more to flesh her out since this is the final arc. And also the name of her devil that was purified to give her this water magic as well. That would have been nice information. But while this is my biggest complaint for these chapters and for this fight, everything else I loved. I loved the choreography, I loved the action from this chapter with how Noelle fought with her mother, with how Noelle was setting everything up for this one final attack. The sibling resolution, I loved all of it. Another great set of chapters from Black Clover, and I cannot wait for the next batch that come out in December. But that's all from me. What did you guys think? How do you feel about these chapters of Black Clover? How do you feel about the resolution to this fight? How do you feel about the sibling drama that happened with the Silva family and the siblings, as well as Aesir as a opponent for Noelle? I honestly really hope that somehow Charmy shows up, gives Noelle a refresher of her magic power, and she goes off to fight Lucius with Asta and Yuno, because I feel like it'd be really cool if the actual light triad, the main trio of this series, which is Asta, Yuno, and Noelle, fight the final baddie together. I think that'd be really cool, and I do think Noelle should actually get to see Asta again, and seeing that he's alive and well. I just feel like it'd be a pretty cool moment, and a really cool fight if that does end up happening. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and if there's anything you'd like me to talk about with Black Clover in the future. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It helps to support the channel, and it shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, surpass your limits, and I hope you all have an awesome day.